A beloved fantasy world, a massive blockbuster movie deal, a multi-million-dollar cast stacked with Oscar winners, all ready to bring absolute magic to the big screen.
Yeah.
But before the cameras even finished rolling, the creator walked away. The texts were sent, the bridges were burned, and Hollywood found itself staring down its most shocking behind-the-scenes feud of the year.
It is the kind of explosive drama that studios literally spend millions of dollars trying to keep quiet. And yet this one is playing out for the entire world to see on social media, just completely bypassing the traditional PR machine.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today we are taking you behind the velvet ropes and the heavily guarded, closed doors of the upcoming Children of Blood and Bone movie adaptation. We've got a stack of sources here, from Reddit threads to industry blogs like Urban Hollywood 411.
We really do. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly what happens when an author turns her back on her own Hollywood dream. And we aren't wasting any time with the setup today because we have to start with the bombshell that absolutely shattered the internet.
Oh, you mean the TikTok drop?
The TikTok trap.
Yeah.
So picture this. It is January 2027. The movie is slated for a massive Martin Luther King Jr. weekend release.
Right, which is huge.
Exactly. And typically when an author makes a video about their upcoming movie a week before the premiere, it's to hype it up, right? You expect a trailer reaction or, I don't know, maybe a cute behind-the-scenes set tour.
Yeah, standard promotional stuff.
Right. But instead, celebrated author Tomi Adeyemi posted screenshots of a brutal, and I mean brutal, text exchange between her and the film's lead actress, Amandla Stenberg.
The whiplash for the fans was just intense. I mean, you have to remember the sheer level of anticipation for this film.
So in these texts, which Adeyemi just drops onto the timeline for millions to see, you have Stenberg writing, "My only hope was to reconnect as human beings."
Which is such a vulnerable thing to say.
It really is. It's a very open message from the actress. And Adeyemi's reply, it is ice cold. She writes, "Do not ever use my name in an interview or video again. Do not text me. Do not call me."
Ouch.
And then she blocks Stenberg. Just like that.
And, Adeyemi didn't just stop at airing out private texts either. She used that exact same video to make a definitive public declaration to her entire global fan base.
What did she say?
She stated categorically that she hasn't seen the film, that she absolutely refuses to watch it, and she admitted that it has been, quote, painful holding this back.
Wow.
Yeah. She actually went as far as urging her fans to go buy her books from independent bookstores instead of buying a ticket to support the movie.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because authors dislike their movie adaptations all the time, right? Stephen King famously despised Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining.
Oh, absolutely. He hated it.
But he didn't stand outside the movie theater with a megaphone telling people to go home. I mean, this is like an architect chaining the doors of a beautiful multi-million-dollar building they designed and begging the public not to go inside. Why burn the house down so publicly?
Well, it indicates a complete and total fracture of trust. But to truly understand the explosion we're seeing in 2027, we kind of have to look for the spark. And there is a smoking gun in that TikTok video that a lot of casual viewers actually missed.
Wait, really? What was it?
The timestamp on that brutal text message where Adeyemi blocks Stenberg. It's February 28, 2025.
2 years ago.
Precisely. That date is not random at all. It coincides perfectly with a massive internet-breaking controversy surrounding the film's casting.
But how did these two go from crying together in joy to blocking each other? Wait until you hear the backstory, because it is heartbreaking.
It really is a tragic shift.
Because if we look back at how this relationship started, the initial magic between Adeyemi and Stenberg was just undeniable. There's this gorgeous, in-depth interview in Blavity from a few years back where Stenberg recounts meeting Adeyemi for the first time.
Right, I remember reading that.
During this meeting, Adeyemi looked at Stenberg and brought up a very specific piece of pop culture history. When Stenberg was just a little girl, she played the character Rue in the movie The Hunger Games.
Yes.
And because of that casting, she faced this horrific, explicitly racist backlash from people who were upset that a black girl was cast in the role.
Which was a deeply traumatic experience for a child actor to endure on a global stage. I mean, she was heavily scrutinized simply for existing in a space that some toxic fans felt she didn't belong in.
Exactly. And Adeyemi told Stenberg that Watching her go through that, watching this young girl navigate that hate, actually inspired Adeyemi to write the Children of Blood and Bone series in the first place.
That's incredible.
She wanted to create a rich, sprawling fantasy world rooted in West African mythology so that, and this is a direct quote, black girls of all shades could have a story written about them. They both just sat there in that meeting and cried together. Stenberg said it felt like destiny, like the universe literally wanted them to work together.
What's fascinating here is that shared understanding of navigating race, representation, and public backlash in Hollywood, it forged a really powerful bond. But the cruel irony is that those exact same forces, internet scrutiny and debates over representation, ultimately became the wedge that drove them apart.
Yeah.
And it all started when the studio officially announced that Stenberg was cast as Princess Amari.
Right, because in Adeyemi's novel, Amari is specifically described as having, quote, dark copper skin. But when the casting was announced, critics immediately pointed out that Stenberg, who is biracial and lighter-skinned, was stepping into a role that many felt rightfully belonged to a darker-skinned actress.
And we really need to approach this with a lot of nuance, because this casting ignited a firestorm over a deeply entrenched systemic issue in the entertainment industry, which is colorism.
Right.
For you listening who might not be steeped in industry casting dynamics, colorism is the systemic preference for lighter-skinned individuals over darker-skinned individuals within the same racial or ethnic group.
It dictates who gets to be the leading lady, who gets the major marketing push, and who is deemed marketable by studio executives.
Exactly that. Fans of the book were fiercely protective of the specific representation Adeyemi had written. Dark-skinned black actresses are historically overlooked for these massive heroic fantasy roles. So, when a character explicitly written as dark-skinned is cast with a lighter-skinned biracial actress, the backlash isn't just about the book.
No.
It is a visceral reaction to an industry that constantly erases darker-skinned women.
But put yourself in Stenberg's shoes for a second. She is a working actor who was offered a role in a franchise she loves. And she didn't just stay quiet when the internet turned its intense focus on her. She dropped a now-deleted 9-minute TikTok video to defend herself.
9 minutes is a long time on TikTok.
It is. I watched this video before it was taken down, and she was walking an impossible tightrope. She addresses the colorism allegations head-on, acknowledging that she understands her privilege and how colorism operates. But she also argues that Amari's lighter skin in the film adaptation actually serves a specific narrative purpose.
Oh, interesting. How so?
She said it contrasts with other characters to highlight the themes of oppression within the story's magic system.
Right. She was trying to thread a needle, basically validating the cultural pain of the fans while simultaneously defending her own racial identity and her right to play the character.
And the ultimate trump card she played in that video. She explicitly noted that Tomi Adeyemi herself fully supported the casting. Stenberg basically said, "The creator of this universe, the woman who wrote these characters, wants me here."
Which brings us crashing back to that text message on February 28, 2025. Stenberg posts her thoughtful 9-minute defense, publicly mentioning Adeyemi's support to shield herself from the backlash. And almost immediately, Adeyemi texts her, "Do not ever use my name in an interview or video again."
It just shatters my heart. A relationship built on mutual respect and shared trauma, completely blown apart when the internet forced them into opposing corners.
Yeah.
If you are hooked on uncovering the real, raw stories behind Hollywood's biggest headlines, make sure you're subscribed to Starscope Report, because we have got plenty more twists ahead. The drama in this industry never sleeps.
And it really shouldn't sleep, because this timeline raises a glaring question. If Adeyemi originally supported the casting, which all industry reports and Stenberg herself indicate she did, why did she suddenly flip?
Right.
Why disown the entire project and just cut off the lead actress?
Yes. You don't just throw away a multi-million-dollar franchise over one TikTok video. Stenberg was just defending herself.
Yeah.
But if Adeyemi originally supported the casting, why did she suddenly flip and disown the whole project? Well, casting was just the tip of the iceberg. The real monster might be the studio system itself.
Oh, absolutely. To understand why Adeyemi likely felt backed into a corner, we have to look at how Hollywood routinely traps authors in what the industry calls development hell. The screen rights to Children of Blood and Bone were actually sold in 2017 to Fox 2000.
Wait, 2017, the book didn't even hit store shelves until 2018.
Yep. It was a massive 7-figure deal based entirely on the manuscript before the ink was even dry on the publishing contract. But Hollywood is a highly volatile place. Disney bought Fox, Fox 2000 was shut down, and the rights shifted over to Lucasfilm.
Wow.
Then, after sitting in a holding pattern there, the rights lapsed entirely. Finally, it landed at Paramount Pictures with Gina Prince-Bythewood attached to direct.
Okay, but Gina Prince-Bythewood is a heavyweight. She directed The Woman King. She did Love and Basketball. This seemed like a match made in heaven. And initially, it seemed like it was. Adeyemi was heavily involved. She was credited as an executive producer.
Right.
She was a co-writer on the script. She even filmed a cameo appearance for the movie and was posting these joyful behind-the-scenes videos from the set. She was all in.
She was. But in Hollywood, control is an absolute illusion until the final cut is locked. In 2025, Paramount went through a massive, industry-shaking merger with Skydance.
Wait, hold on. I have to stop you there. Because Adeyemi wasn't just a consultant. She had an executive producer credit. She co-wrote the script. Doesn't that legally protect her vision? How can a studio merger just bypass an author's contract?
That is the grand illusion of Hollywood vanity credits. When you are a novelist entering the studio system, your quote-unquote executive producer credit often doesn't come with final cut privilege, which is really the only legal right that actually matters. Yeah. When the studios merge, the executives who originally championed your project and made you verbal or, soft contractual promises, they often get fired or reassigned. New billionaires take over the board, new financial mandates are handed down, and creative control reverts strictly to the people signing the checks. The leverage Adeyemi thought she had written into her contract likely just evaporated in the corporate shuffle.
So what does this all mean for a listener? Is this just typical Hollywood growing pains or a complete hijacking of an author's vision? Because it sounds like taking a rich, complex, slow-cooked West African stew, and because the new corporate owners want to sell it in every drive-thru in America, they strip out the spices, water down the broth, and turn it into a generic fast food burger.
That is a perfect way to look at it.
It feeds more people, sure, but the soul of the dish is completely gone.
Exactly. They sanitize the intellectual property to appeal to the widest possible demographic. And the rumors coming out of the industry back this up. If we look at the chatter blowing up the box office forums, people are citing reports from World of Reel about the footage screened at CinemaCon.
And for you listening, CinemaCon is the massive convention where studios show off their upcoming slate to theater owners to get them hyped up to book the films.
You're right. And according to the whispers, the Children of Blood and Bone footage got zero reaction, just crickets.
Oh, no.
Theater owners reportedly thought the visual effects looked cheap and the tone was a mess. This disastrous screening allegedly led the new studio executives to mandate heavy script alterations and massive panic-induced reshoots.
Reshoots that the author probably had absolutely no say in.
None. Zero. And this is a pattern we are seeing everywhere in pop culture right now.
Yeah.
Look at George R.R. Martin recently taking to his blog to publicly eviscerate the changes made in Season 2 of House of the Dragon.
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
Or Andrzej Sapkowski's The Witcher, where the star, Henry Cavill, reportedly walked away because the showrunner strayed too far from the books. We saw massive behind-the-scenes drama with Colleen Hoover's Heaver. It ends with Us Too. Hollywood is obsessed with adapting IP, but condensing a sprawling 400-page fantasy epic into a 2-hour movie almost always requires ignoring the source material.
Which completely alienates the creator. It sounds to me like Adeyemi watched her world get dismantled piece by corporate mandates, and when the internet started attacking the casting, she realized she was acting as a human shield for a studio that had already locked her out of the editing room.
Pretty much.
She decided she'd rather jump ship than go down with it.
It is a fundamental breakdown of trust. When a creator feels their core message is being compromised for mass appeal, the reaction is visceral.
But if you think that's wild, wait until we get into what actually happened next. Because when the internet found out about all of this, they didn't exactly take the author's side.
No, the court of public opinion is notoriously unpredictable, and they have very long memories.
To put it mildly, if we dive into the public reaction on Reddit, specifically communities like 4Pop Culture Chat and our box office, the fan base is deeply divided. There is a very vocal group of people who are firmly against Adeyemi. Some commenters are calling her unhinged or a drama queen.
Right.
And they're bringing up her past to justify it.
You are referring to the Nora Roberts incident.
Yes. A few years ago, Adeyemi got into a very messy public beef with the mega best-selling romance author, Nora Roberts. Adeyemi accused Roberts of plagiarizing the title of her book because Roberts released a novel with the phrase "of blood and bone" in the title.
Which, as many pointed out at the time, is a fairly common fantasy trope phrase.
Exactly. Roberts pushed back hard, calling the accusation baseless and reckless, and Adeyemi ultimately had to walk it back and apologize. But Reddit is using that history as evidence of a track record. They are essentially saying, look, she has a history of impulsive, unnecessary internet drama.
That prior incident heavily colors how the general public views this current situation. I mean, many of these commenters are expressing deep sympathy for Amandla Stenberg. Their argument is pretty pragmatic. Stenberg is an actress hired to do a job. Adeyemi was the one who initially approved, championed, and defended the casting.
Right. She gave the green light.
So for the author to suddenly turn around, block her, and publicly attack her when the movie hits a rough patch, it feels entirely unfair to the actor who is just trying to bring the character to life.
One user literally wrote, "Am I missing something? Stenberg is taking all the heat while the author throws her under the bus. This just makes the author look vindictive."
But, that is only half of the conversation.
Right, because then you have the hardcore fans of the book, and they are heartbroken. They are arguing that Hollywood completely fumbled what could have been a monumental moment in cinema, what many were hoping would be the Black Harry Potter.
Yeah, the expectations were sky high.
They feel the studio lightwashed the cast, ignored the deep West African roots of the magic system, and made a series of cultural missteps that stripped the story of its authenticity. To them, Adeyemi isn't vindictive. She is a martyr protecting her culture from being commodified.
It is a massive clash of expectations. You have hardcore fans who wanted a one-to-one translation of the book's specific cultural representation, and on the other hand, a studio desperate to build a four-quadrant global blockbuster to appease their new corporate overlords. And the financial stakes for this movie are astronomical. We are looking at a release date of January 15th, 2027.
Which is Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend.
Exactly. It's a premier weekend for box office releases. It is prime real estate, and it is slated for a global IMAX release. I mean, just look at the cast list Paramount has assembled here. Viola Davis, Idris Elba, Cynthia Erivo, Damson Idris, Thuso Mbedu.
That is an insane lineup.
You do not hire a cast of that caliber, featuring multiple Oscar winners, unless you are spending well over $150 million on production and marketing and expecting a massive franchise-launching return.
This is the part that fascinates me. How does an author boycotting her own movie actually affect the bottom line? Think about it for a second. Think about the last time you read a book you absolutely devoured, and then you found out they were making a movie.
You get excited, right?
You want the creator's blessing. You want to see them on the red carpet smiling, saying they got it right. They honored the characters. Without that blessing, the whole thing feels, I don't know, tainted, like you were somehow betraying the book by buying a ticket.
That is the exact anxiety currently gripping the executives at Paramount. When an author publicly trashes their movie a full year before release, you basically guarantee that the hardcore fan base, the exact people who are supposed to be your free grassroots word-of-mouth marketing, might actively boycott the film.
Wow.
But from a purely box office analytics perspective, we have to ask the hard question. Will the general audience actually care?
That is a very fair point. The average person walking through the mall looking for a movie to watch on a Friday night, do they know who Tomi Adeyemi is? Do they care about a text message sent in 2025? Probably not.
If the marketing team cuts a phenomenal, action-packed trailer and you have Viola Davis and Idris Elba front and center on the poster, the general public might turn out regardless of the behind-the-scenes drama. The star power alone could be enough to save it financially.
Right.
But critically, culturally, the loss of the author's endorsement is a heavy blow to the film's legacy. It will always have an asterisk next to it.
It is a fascinating standoff. And hey, if you want to make sure you never miss out on how these massive Hollywood standoffs end, hit that subscribe button. We are constantly tracking these stories, digging through the spin, and breaking down what is really happening behind closed doors.
And we will definitely need to keep tracking this one because this specific feud brings up a much larger industry-shifting dynamic that goes far beyond one movie.
Oh, wait, what is it?
Well, we are entering an entirely new era of entertainment where authors have unprecedented, unchecked power. In the past, an author sold their rights, deposited the check, and they were entirely at the mercy of the studio's PR machine.
Right, they had no voice.
If they hated the movie, their contracts usually dictated that they had to smile through gritted teeth on the press tour or simply fade into the background. But today, an author like Tomi Adeyemi has direct, unfiltered access to millions of fans via TikTok.
She doesn't need a publicist to get her message out. Yep. She didn't have to go through a magazine. She literally just pressed record on her phone in her living room.
Precisely. If an adaptation strays too far from the source material, The creator now has the ability to instantly weaponize their fan base against the studio. They can completely hijack the multi-million-dollar narrative the studio is trying to build.
That's wild to think about.
It really is. It leaves us with an incredible question for the future of entertainment. Could this feud signal the beginning of the end for the traditional Hollywood adaptation model? Will studios eventually stop paying millions for book rights if they realize they can no longer legally or socially control the authors who wrote them?
Wow. That is the billion-dollar question right there. If the architect can chain the doors shut and turn the public against the building with a single tweet, why would a studio ever hire them to draw the blueprints in the first place? It completely flips the power dynamic of Hollywood IP on its head.
It really lives the entire studio system in uncharted territory.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining. Until next time, keep an eye on your favorite authors. You never know what they might post next.